Hello my friends and welcome. This is the latest update from Ukraine. In this video we're also gonna touch the events happening in Israel. But first let's go to the front lines, to the eastern side right now, to be more precise in Avdiivka, which is now under the Russian attack. So Russia accumulated lots of the forces and today they tried to reach that city with their forces unsuccessfully. However, 3 days ago they advanced from Krasnogorivka to Stepova and they gained some of the ground. It's not like this on this military map. Today they try to advance directly to the city, but I'll show you the videos of their vehicles being demolished. The main idea of the Russian army to encircle Avdiivka city from two of the directions, it will not happen because Ukraine put lots of the mines in this particular area. We created the defense lines in this place too. The variant for Russia to get to Avdiivka directly is also not working here because Ukraine transformed this place into the fortress. It is the big Ukrainian defense spot. But the Russian army has the order from the high military command to assault. That is what they're doing with lack of their communication supplies. That is why Russia has no results in their new advancements. For example, here you may see the infantry vehicles with some of the infantry. Basically, they stack in the minefields, unable to move forward, and then this happened. Ukraine targeted the Russian army. It wasn't the only advancement of the Russian army near to Avdiivka, but all the Russian vehicles were kaput by Ukrainian defenders. Here we have one more screenshot of the recent events. Clearly, Russia is misjudging their opponents, so Ukrainian side and our defense. For the last 3 of the weeks, I see the constant advancement of the Russian armored vehicles, infantry and tanks towards the Ukrainian positions, and all of them went with the same result. It looks like that the Russian army is trying to use the last months of the dry season for their advancement. One more tank kaputted near to Avdiivka. They see that Ukraine is concentrating their forces on the south for the counterattack, which by the way now is mostly stuck with just a little advancement. Because of that, Russia wants to get the new initiative for the attack actions on the eastern side of Ukraine. But as we see, Ukraine is able to defend that part of the country. It happens also near to Avdiivka. But before we continue with it, let me tell you about the partner and the sponsor of my channel. Yes, it is the Atlas VPN. They have the awesome deal that they made especially for my followers, where you may get the Atlas VPN Premium for just $170 per month, plus you'll have 6 months for free. It is the best deal they had in their history, and I'm very proud that they made this offer especially for my audience. So I tried many VPNs since that time, but for Atlas VPN, I trust the most. Also, Atlas VPN grants me the full access to any kind of series on the Netflix streaming platform. So I don't care about the government restrictions any longer. And sometimes I check the enemy side, social media, and for that I also use the Atlas VPN. You can basically change your virtual location to any point in the world. And Atlas VPN is so fast that you will never feel the difference whether it's on or off. And now my friends, please check out my personal link or scan the QR code available on the screen, where you may get the Atlas VPN Premium for just $170 per month, plus 6 months for free. The offer is outstanding and valid especially for my followers. So what are you waiting for? Hurry up to join the club. Let's go back to this convoy. You can see the front vehicle and something happens to it right now. Yes, it turned upside down. The other Russian soldiers probably are laughing about it, but actually it's the big problem for them because the leading vehicle is now needs help. It was kaputted even before reaching the Ukrainian positions. Obviously, this accident ruined the morale of the other assaulting Russian soldiers in this convoy. Later on, all of them were ambushed by Ukrainian army. So actually, they had to temporarily stop their attack at this point. According to the analysis from the deep state military map resource, Russia advanced their forces from Krasnohorivka and also from Vodene. Earlier, they shelled the Avdiivka city and the Ukrainian positions in this region. With those attacks, Russia wanted to encircle Avdiivka together with the Ukrainian forces in. But it seems like the Ukrainian defenders were ready for this scenario, and Russia has tremendous losses. They landed hundreds of soldiers in two of those areas, who are mainly still there, lying or still walking in the gray zone. Unfortunately, Ukrainian side also has losses, mainly because of the Russian artillery fire, but Russia has many more losses. The Russian resources published the video where the Lancet drone attacks the Ukrainian Sukhoi Su-25 attack airplane. It happened at a Ukrainian military airfield, which is not far away from Kryvyi Rih city, the southern part of Ukraine. Definitely it is the Ukrainian Sukhoi Su-25, and it was targeted by the Lancet drone. Unfortunately, the airplane was totally destroyed. It completely burned down because of the fire. The distance from this military airfield to the front lines is 70 kilometers. However, Russia was able to launch the Lancet drone, and also the surveillance drone was flying above the military airfield. How was it possible in this very important military facility? Why the air defense wasn't used to target the drones? I'm out of clue. But for sure, the Ukrainian Army Command needs to do something immediately with that main threat to Ukrainian aviation. It is the third military jet which we lost because of the Lancet drone attacks. However, Russia also lost their Sukhoi 25 attack airplane. It was shot down by Ukrainian defenders. Germany will supply the new military help for Ukraine, the new Patriot system plus RST. All of those are air defense. We need the new air defense systems to protect our skies during the winter time at most, because Russia will target the Ukrainian civilian infrastructure, including the power plants and power lines. The Ukrainian officials already called civilians to buy generators, but unfortunately they do not give the funds to buy that equipment, so people will have to purchase that stuff on their own. Germany, thank you for your support providing the help that will protect our cities and our homes. According to the satellite images, Russia continued to send the cruise missiles in their military strategic airfields where their bombers are located. We're speaking about the cruise missiles, which they will use for the winter attacks. Alright, now let's go to the events in Israel and around Gaza. Israel finally was able to gain all of the previously lost territories. However, the attacks on Israel continue. Many of the cities around Gaza were shelled by the Hamas artillery systems, or rockets you may call them. Plus, today the shooting was reported in Ashkelon city, not far away from the Gaza Strip. Some of the media resources reported the landing operation conducted by Hamas or the direct attack from the Gaza sector. Both of those stories were not proved by evidence, but definitely there was the shooting. Probably some of the Hamas militants left in that city. Israel in its turn continued to bomb Gaza. Lots of the buildings were destroyed. Israel claims that those buildings belong to Hamas, but we understand that it's hard to check. Some of the Palestinians tried to flee Gaza to Egypt. However, I think that Egypt is not very happy about it. Potentially it may get around 2 million people as refugees plus Hamas militants. Officially, Hamas organization is forbidden in Egypt, but I guess without electricity, water, food supplies, people would have to flee Gaza for Egypt. It's their only way. Israeli officials already called the local citizens to leave Gaza. The problem for Israel that there are lots of the Israeli hostages in Gaza right now. Every human life of Israeli citizen is very precious for Israel. Many years ago, Israel already exchanged hundreds of the Hamas militants for their few citizens. And now Hamas has more than 100 of the hostages. So if Israel goes with a ground operation in Gaza, for sure Hamas would get rid of the hostages. But the talks about the hostages exchange continues. The main mediator here is Qatar. However, we all understand that after what had happened, Israel would start the ground operation 99%. They've already recruited more than 300,000 soldiers. Those are mainly volunteers who served in Israeli army before. Unlike in Russia, where they also mobilized 300,000 soldiers, but those soldiers were hard to find. More men were running from Russia to save their lives from the army than wanted to join it. Here, Israeli citizens are coming from all around the world to join Israeli army for this mission. So about the ground operation in Gaza, it is real, but it will be also very hard for Israel. It will be conducted in the urban environment, which minimizes the advantage of the heavy weaponry that Israel has, artillery, tanks, etc. Yes, aviation here more or less effective. Fighting in this dense populated area will also cause heavy losses for Israeli army. And probably Hamas now is getting ready to receive their opponents in Gaza. They all understand that it will be the next step for Israel. Plus there are lots of the underground ways and tunnels in Gaza, so they may use those to ambush the Israeli forces and also hide and deliver weaponry, so-called underground supply lines. As for Israel, I think the best strategy would be to hit Gaza into several places. It might help to separate the Hamas forces, disturbing their communication and logistics, but again they have the tunnels. The ground operation in Gaza could be a big bloodbath, so hopefully civilians will leave Gaza before it starts. And the only way for them to do it is to go to Egypt, which will be not very happy about this event. There were also some of the reports that Israel was targeted from the Syrian side as well as from Lebanon. Israeli military say that if attacks continue, they will use force against Damascus. About Jordan, it mainly supports Israel in this conflict. They propose to use their military bases for the United States military to supply the goods to Israel. However, during this evening, there were thousands of protesters of the capital city Amman who demanded Jordan to join the war against Israel. Crazy. But from what I see, it will not happen. By the way, the first American goods, military equipment, were delivered to Israel. Also, the United States aviation carrier Gerald Ford is going to the place to protect Israel from the possible intervention by other countries. For example, Iran, which openly supports Hamas and Hezbollah. The State Secretary Blinken is also going to visit Israel very soon. The main general commander of Israeli forces said that the Israeli soldiers will not have any penalties or trials for what they do in this war, so all of the war crimes would not be investigated if they are performed by Israeli side, which is, I would say, not good, because we need to follow the international norms. I always say on my channel that the war crimes should be investigated and those who conducted the war crimes should be prosecuted and punished, because it is the difference between us and them. If they perform massacres, if they perform the terrible things, we shouldn't repeat it. But the Israeli defense minister says that there will be no responsibility for military. He also says that there will be the ground operation in Gaza that may last for at least 1 month. Indeed, it's not easy operation. It might take that time and even longer. At the same time, the Hamas speaker says that they didn't harm any civilians in Israel, which is complete bullshit. Hamas attacked Israel, performing the terrible acts of terror mainly against civilians, so those should be punished. And Israeli army is goal-oriented to do it as fast as possible. There was the video published today by Hezbollah. They targeted the Israeli M113 infantry vehicle with the help of the Russian weaponry Kornet. This is the analog of the American TOW missile. Somehow, the Russian-made weaponry appeared in the hands of the Iranian-backed terrorist groups. Now we clearly see the anti-Western axis: Russia, Iran, and China. Probably also North Korea. But they have this strange ideology that no one really likes. Also, one more Merkava tank was targeted together with a crew. Unfortunately, the tank looks intact, but definitely it was shelled by something. To some of the other international news, the gas pipeline between Estonia and Finland was damaged. It goes under the water, and also there is the communication line. everything of that was damaged by external explosion. It wasn't confirmed whether this pipeline is still usable or not. This attack could be performed by Russia to destabilize this area, and before we got some of the information from intelligence that Russia mobilizes the forces near to its western borders with the Baltic countries like Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. Yes, it is illogical to advance to the NATO countries by the time they are unable to take Avdiivka under control, but Russia is a illogical country. At the same time, there is the information from the Joint Chief of Staff from the NATO countries that North Korea is planning the intervention to the South Korea, and they will use the scenario of Hamas, maybe even taking some of the prisoners. As you can see, the war between democracies and autocracies intensify, and luckily we're on the bright side. My friends, please press the like to this video and also check out my personal link in the video description just below, where you may find the Atlas VPN Premium with astonishing discount especially made for my followers. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.